For the beginning, we have to go back to July 1993, when numbers 1, 2 and 10 Crownfield Bank were let to me at the council meeting of July 1993. All three allotments had the previous year's potato crop still left in the ground. Number 1 and 2 were inaccessible via the parish council's allotment roadway due to it being very narrow. The only way I could access the allotments and take them on was prior to them being let to me, agreeing with my neighbour, Mr Watson, that I could access the allotments via his property. February 1994, the council agreed to let me 3 and 4 Crownfield Bank, and it was to be mentioned to me that the access should remain open. August 1997, Councillor Harrington was appointed Chairman of Allotments, and that autumn I walked the allotments with him. He was duly to report a problem with the allotments at the October council meeting. At the November meeting, he announced that he was working on several situations, and at the April meeting of 1998, he announced that a reply was awaited from Carter Jonas in respect of the boundary at Holbeach Bank allotments. May 1998 saw Councillor Neville Capes appointed Chairman of the Council, Councillor John Pearl appointed as Vice Chairman, and Councillor Charles Nicholas Worth appointed as Chairman of Allotments, replacing Councillor Harrington. July 1998. Councillor Worth reported that he had met with Tim Jones of Carter Jonas regarding encroachment on the Crown allotments at Holbeach Bank, which had now been resolved. It appeared that these allotments were being used commercially, and the Crown inquired whether the parish council would agree to them being returned to the Crown. After discussion, the council agreed to this course of action. At the July council meeting, Councillor Worth informed members that the reason the Crown wished for the allotments to be returned was that they were not being used as they were intended. Previously, the Crown had written to its farming tenants informing them that the letting of land to specialist vegetable growers was not part of its holdings policy and should only happen in certain circumstances. I contacted Tim Jones and asked him if he would be asking for the land back from those farmers who were letting to the specialist vegetable growers. In 2009, this is still happening. At the end of August, a copy of a letter was put through my letterbox. The letter was originally sent to Nick Worth by Tim Jones. Added to the bottom on it was a request. Included with the letter was a plan. On the plan was marked a 2.1 metre strip, which was the grass allotment roadway on the Crownfield allotments, and the request was that I should not plough it. Well, I had no intention of ploughing it. They requested a letter to say that I would not. Well, Councillor Worth was told that this was not the problem, the entranceway was the problem, and I was not agreeing to anything until which time the entranceway had been resolved. At the council meeting of September 98, a letter was reported from the Crown stating that until such time as all the holdings were within 1 or possibly 2 names, it was unlikely that the Crown estate would be prepared to accept a surrender. Surely the agent knew how many tenants was on there prior to asking for the return of the allotments, or was that something that was just made up for members of the council? At the council meeting in October 98, Councillor Worth reported that he had hoped that the Crown boundary dispute had been resolved, but Mr Pole did not agree. Later on in the same meeting, the Vice Chairman, Councillor Pearl, suggested that the allotment should be looked at comprehensively, which was agreed by members. At the November meeting of 98, the report that was requested at the October meeting was still being prepared by the clerk. At the council meeting of December 1998, Councillor Worth confirmed that a report had been completed and circulated to the meeting. Members were to consider it for next month's meeting. In December of '98, I was told that the problem with the narrow accessway was not the overgrown Leylandii hedge on the right hand side, but on the left hand side there used to be a thorn hedge. The hedge had been removed and it had been replaced by a row of concrete posts, but these concrete posts was on the allotment roadway, and if I looked at the bottom end I could see where the fence had been extended. I duly went to South Holland District Council at Spalding, to the planning department, and asked if I could see the planning application for the property to the left of the roadway. Let alone did they let me see the planning application, they also gave me a photocopy of the actual drawing. At the council meeting of January 1999, Councillor Worth claimed that allotments rented in were losing money, but the minutes recorded just breaking even. He also said that there was concern over the allotments being grouped together, forming large areas. Well, if the council didn't want them in large areas, they shouldn't have let them to the people who they'd let them to. It was okay at the time they let them, but now suddenly it's wrong. The Spalding Guardian on the 4th of February 1999, in its article regarding the parish council meeting of January, reported that the council is losing money on plots it rents in from other bodies. It was my opinion that the raising of the allotment rents was for only one reason: to make the allotments unviable for the tenants, to reduce the number of tenants and meet the criteria for a handback. So I wrote to Tim Jones on the Wednesday after the meeting. The letter received in reply mentions the boundary and states, "It is quite clear that the boundary is in line with the Leylandii hedge which borders the neighbouring property," i.e. the concrete posts and the Leylandii hedge to the right of the allotment roadway is the boundary, according to this letter. I reply the following day, the 30th of January, and ask that it be confirmed that the western side boundary is marked by the concrete posts of the adjacent property. The reply to my letter states, "My understanding is that the boundaries are both marked by a line of concrete posts, although on one side there is a Leylandii hedge, as mentioned in your letter. Also included with the letter was a plan of the allotments, outlined in red." At the parish council meeting of the 8th of February 1999, the council agreed to raise the allotment rents from £108 an acre to £120 an acre. On the 14th of February 1999, I write again, enclosing a copy of the planning application plan obtained from South Holland District Council. I also ask what was the size of the plot sold to Tassac contractors who built the houses. The reply to my letter gave two comments. Firstly, the concrete posts, whilst on site we took measurements of the plot and it would appear that the concrete posts are forming the boundary line of the property. Secondly, a plan was included, giving the measurements of the rear of the plot as 25 metres and the frontage of 30 metres. It would appear that when the plot was sold, it was measured in width to the middle of the roadway at the front, and subsequently at the rear there has been encroachment onto the roadway. But the parish council has never accepted that.